microphone? Is that better? Wow, that's much better. I can hold it here now. Okay, well, I was saying that it's a real honor to have Khalid Khalifa here with us today. And it would be remiss, I think, to not really understand exactly who you are and what you do so that this audience can see the potential that I saw when we first met in terms of connecting what is one of the largest employers of people in the world, our industry, the hospitality industry, an industry which touches over 300 million people around the whole world. What a big collective force that could be for good. And I do truly believe that our industry is for people, by people. So I think there's a massive opportunity here, and delighted that you could be here. So please, start by telling us who you are and giving us a flavor as to why you're here, what we could do to support.
I think it's working. Yeah. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to share the stage with you. My name is Khalid Khalifa. I am a senior advisor to the High Commissioner for Refugees, and I represent the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in this region. UNHCR is the organization that is responsible for refugees, internally displaced people inside their own countries, asylum seekers, and stateless people around the world. If you put all those categories together, we are talking about 123 million people who are under the mandate of this very important organization. Pleasure to be with all of you.
Thank you again. Now, there's been a series of events happening around the world, be these climate-related, be these conflict-related. Tell us a little bit about these global trends and how they are evolving and impacting the displacement of people.
Honestly, we do not really live in great times. We have an unprecedented number of refugees and displaced people around the world. We are still dealing with a very large number of people who are suffering from hunger around the world. Imagine 700 million people around the world who are still dealing with food security issues. The majority of those problems are caused not mainly by natural disasters. Yes, natural disasters contribute to displacement, but the main trigger, the main reason is armed conflicts. We are dealing with situations like Syria, like Sudan, like Gaza, like Yemen, and all those situations force people to leave their own places, their own homes, in search of safety and dignity. You add on top of that people who flee because of social persecution, of not being able to practice their own freedoms, because of political opposition, because of many other problems that cause people to move. So people on move, and we are only talking here about people who are forced to move, not people who choose to move. And we have to differentiate between those two. Economic migrants, at least they have the possibility of going back to their own countries. Their lives are not threatened. They have the liberty to work. But refugees, they cannot go back to their own countries. Their lives are usually threatened. They are dealing with trauma and psychological problems. Most of them have lost loved ones. Most of them have lost the possibility to live a normal life. So if we speak about trends, and I think that was the core of the question, the number of people in displacement is increasing rather than decreasing, although we have some areas where we are seeing great hope, like Syria, For example, after 14 years of displacement, the Syrians are going back to Syria, and this is really beautiful. More than 1 million people have already returned to Syria from outside, and more than 2 million internally displaced Syrians have gone back to their places of origin.
Which is great. Now, your organization, the United Nations, HCR, you tell us about your strategy and how your strategy is evolving in order to deal with this growing volume of displaced people around the world. How are you approaching this?
I think for those of you who are following what is happening in the world, the current stage where the humanitarian system is finding itself in is really unprecedented. We are facing a crisis of responsibility. Governments are dodging their responsibility in terms of funding. This is causing a lot of damage to organizations. Many of the humanitarian organizations who are actually are not well funded in the first place have lost about 28 to 35% of their staffing because they lost more than 30% of their funding. That's not the problem. I mean, I think the existence of organizations is not really the problem. It's the services those organizations are providing. If you translate this into impact on the ground, we have more than 11 million people who are now not served, who have lost the services they used to receive from an organization like UNHCR, and we are talking about shelter, education, health, and all of that. You have what we call soft projects. I mean, in terms of assistance, you can provide people with something tangible. You can give them a tent. You can give them a blanket. You can give them food or utensils to use. But that's not all. People need much more than that. Think of women who were raped, for example, in a place like Sudan, and they're living in a place like Chad. First, they need the survival, but more than the survival, they need the psychological support. All those activities, the gender-based violence projects, are now not funded because they consider them not life-saving. So the focus is now more on the must-do, not the good-to-do. And I think this is a very dangerous trend. What is UNHCR is doing? We are exploring different ways to receive support, to engage constituencies like you here, the private sector, individuals, make sure that we are diversifying our resources and our partnerships to make sure that we are not letting the people we are supposed to serve down.
So let's turn to this industry and give us some practical examples. If there are investors, hotel owners, hotel operators here in the audience who want to contribute, who want to help, what can they do?
A lot. And if you take the topic at face value, you feel that there is not really a strong relationship between hospitality and refugees. But if you dig a little bit deeper, refugees first represent more than 1% of the population in the world. And let me say, not refugees, displaced people. Forcibly displaced people represent more than 1% of the population of the world we live in. This is a large constituency. If you put them in one country, it becomes really a large country. That's why now we have a refugee Olympic team. We have a refugee e-gaming team. The industry we are talking about here can do a lot of work directly and indirectly. Indirectly, you represent a large, influential group of businesses that can influence the decision-making, that can influence legal frameworks, that can work with governments to make life more bearable for refugees who are not employable because of regulations. If you are a refugee living in the West, for example, and the government doesn't allow you to work, then you have no future, you have no life. And the industry, the hospitality industry, can place a lot or can do a lot of work with governments to find ways for engagement. Before we came here, Ofi, I was telling you that one of the solutions is to think of remote working modalities. We were meeting in Nigeria a few months back, and there is a beautiful initiative in Nigeria where a local organization trains Nigerian displaced people and refugees in Nigeria to do jobs that can be done remotely, like financial auditing, for example, like accounting, like translation. And those people can work from where they are, and you pay them from where they are. They provide great services at a cheap price that cannot be compared to the service you buy in a place like London or New York or Berlin and so on. There are other ways of engagement to employ the skills of refugees. Now we have something called Made 51. Made 51 is an initiative, and it refers to the 51 Convention, where refugee women and young girls produce handcrafts and amazing products that are used actually in a number of five-star hotels now. Bed sheets, covers, pillowcases, computer cases, and things like that. Sir Richard Branson partnered with us last year by giving us access to Virgin Megastores, where you can now buy actually the products made by Made 51. We have a group of entities in Kuwait and in Saudi Arabia who are now looking into commercializing the products from Made 51. This doesn't require a change of regulation. You can buy these services remotely. If it is at all possible to employ a small number of refugees who are allowed to work, that will really add flavor to the initiative. And of course, any financial contributions to enable this, scholarships, trainings, giving the refugees a chance to be trained or to recognize even their previous skills or certification is also another way of engagement with this important group of people.
I mean, these things seem very realistic to me. They're very achievable. They're not, they're not things that have barriers preventing people from being able to access a remote workforce, for example, or being able to bring in some of those products through the supply chain into one's hotels. So I'm very pleased for those examples. I think it's really valuable for our industry to play a role because we are at the forefront of the global economy representing people and the power of what collective action of people can do. I, for one, am going to hopefully set the scene for others to follow by saying that as an organization, as the Energy and Environment Alliance, we will do everything we can to support the United Nations HCR and to support the impressive work that you are doing. If we can facilitate on behalf of the industry channels so that they can find a trusted source to be able to access this remote workforce of refugees, this mobile workforce, and to be able to access channels to buying these products and services that you are referencing, then I'm very happy to commit here publicly to do that as a way of supporting the organization. And I would urge others to do the same. So that leaves me to say thank you very much for joining us. It's been a real honor to be able to have this conversation with you. And I do urge my fellow peers in the industry to participate and play a role. It has a very big impact on your businesses to be able to tell stories about the positive impact that you are having globally, not just on your guests, not just on your teams, but on the broader global society, which ultimately has a way of helping to stabilize the global economy, which ultimately benefits the bottom lines of all of our businesses. So it makes absolute commercial sense to do this. So Khalid, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ofi, for giving me the opportunity to be here and for giving UNHCR this opportunity. We are very open and glad to speak to anybody about partnerships. And as you rightly said, it doesn't only make you feel good, it makes a lot of business sense. So thank you very much.